Last Friday night on SmackDown, JC Jane, a fatal influence, would capture the WS Championship by defeating Tiffany Stratton. Now, JC Jane, as you guys know, is one of my favorites, actually my favorite wrestler right now currently. And recently, she actually sat down with Sam Roberts to discuss her championship win. Let's check it out. Fair use.
The new WWE Women's United States Champion, JC Jane. Welcome to Not Sam Wrestling. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. That was great.
Well, how does it feel to be in the possession? I mean, it's now been, you've had the weekend with it. The dust is settled. It's real. It's real life.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah.
You know, you're looking at that title, like to have main roster gold. I mean, it's got to feel pretty amazing.
Yeah, I feel great. You know, it felt kind of weird not having a title around my waist.
I see.
So I
It
feel
did,
like
Queen.
I'm
Salute.
right back where I need to be, and my first main roster title, and I'm ready to kick ass.
Yeah, it felt like I don't know. It feels like maybe when you won the NXT Women's Championship, it felt like you kind of just hit the accelerator and haven't looked back since then. Do you feel like there was there something in you that changed at that point? Do you think it was the perception of you that changed at that point?
Honestly, I feel like I waited so long for that opportunity to just have a title match, to be a singles competitor. So I was always in a tag team. So I waited so long for that moment. And when it finally came, I was ready and there was no looking back. I was like, this is what, I should have been doing this whole time. So now I just want to rub it in everyone's face. And I just keep trying to set the bar higher and higher. There's no going back. There's only going forward.
And I mean, I've got to believe, like, when you guys showed up on SmackDown for the very first time, like, there has to be like butterflies going, okay, has this audience been watching NXT? Are they aware of what we've been doing? But the reaction that you guys got instantly, especially as there was a handful of new talent showing up on Raw and SmackDown. But I think that you guys got the biggest sort of instant reaction as soon as you showed up, just boos raining down. How did it feel when that happened, and to what do you attribute that?
There's nothing I love more than how everybody hates me. They love to hate me, and I thrive on that. Like, there's nothing I love more than making grown men cry.
Yeah.
So also though, I felt like I was on NXT for like 5 years. I was, again, just waiting for my moment, waiting for the opportunity. So when I got there, I felt oddly comfortable. Like, yes, I was nervous. But I knew I belonged from the second I got up there. There was no doubt in my mind. Of course, you have the butterflies like right before you go out, but there was never any doubt. I was ready. I know Lainey and Fallon were also ready. We came up with a plan and we saw that through.
Yeah. Do you think that that's part of the benefit in staying for NXT longer? Because I think there are a bunch of people that, I mean, as soon as superstars start getting success in NXT, people start going, time for them to get called up, time for them to get called up. And sometimes they do, but other times it's another year or two before they're called up. I think that was the story with you. I think that was the story with Braun Breaker, with Obafemi, with Trick Williams. But I guess I never really thought of it in the way you just contextualized it, that when you do spend that long in NXT perfecting your craft, when you get to the main roster, there's no question in your mind about whether or not you should be there.
Yeah, I think a lot of talent get frustrated being down in NXT for a long time. Like, you always think you're ready for the next step, but in most cases, you're really not. You think you are, but then you get thrown into the deep end and it's sink or swim. So if you're not ready, like, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot, essentially. And I got told that so many times, and there were times that I was getting frustrated, but ultimately, I think everything happens for a reason. I think everything played out exactly the way it was supposed to. If I had come up 2 years ago or whatever the case was, like, there's no way I would be in this kind of position. I wouldn't have been ready. I probably would have sunk. So Thank you, Shawn Michaels, for keeping me around and helping me get better, even when I was annoying about it.
It's amazing.
So, as you guys know, like I said, I keep saying JC Jane is my favorite wrestler currently, and has been for a long time. And this, I'll keep reiterating that the second I saw her and they formed Toxic Attraction, immediately I was like, who's that? I know who Mandy is. I'm familiar with Gigi, formerly known as Priscilla Kelly. But who's she? She's the best one out of all three of them. Not known, but she's the best one out of all three of them. I immediately said that on this show. Now, we were not on YouTube at the time. You have to go back to our audio feed to find that. But I did say that, and I've been consistent with saying that for years, for about 4 or 5 years now. However long JC's been in NXT/WWE, I've been saying that. And when her and Toxic Attraction, JC and Gigi even won a tag team of the year for us, I believe, in 2021. They were fantastic. Toxic Attraction, the biggest attraction, no pun intended, in NXT. And we got to a point where it's like, all right, well, Mandy's with them. When they're going to come up? Because there's but so much left they can do as a unit in NXT. And then Mandy's situation happened. And it's like, all right, well, where does that leave Gigi and JC? They decided to just blow it up. No more Toxic Attraction, which I was fine with, which makes sense because when one of your focal points is gone, it's like, all right, just throw the whole thing away. And Mandy was the leader of the group. And then JC's kind of like floating around, still doing her thing. You know, I said that she can do anything. I've always said she could talk, she could perform in the ring. She's one of the better women that they had from an in-ring perspective. I think she's fantastic. But she was pretty much floating around, kind of trying to find where she kind of fit. I thought she did good with the Chase Youth thing with Thea Hale and Andre Chase, but there was so much more that I thought she could be doing. And then she teams with Fallon and Jasmine, and we find something that works, Fatal Influence, especially with what was going on with a lot of these women coming into women and other wrestlers coming into the company without like real like wrestling backgrounds, like signing NIL deals, opposed to Fallon and JC, who were the ones who I guess paid. You can cite the popular thing now for the last couple of weeks in wrestling has been they paid their dues, and the other ones didn't. And then they find somebody who wants to listen to them, and that was Jasmine. And now, when Jasmine's contract expired, they made an impression on Lainey. And I thought it was the perfect thing. So you can kind of say JC Jane, she was evolving in that time in NXT to what she is now. And as she will start to say in this interview, that there are things that needed to happen, that she had to learn in NXT. So when it came to the main roster, that it wouldn't affect her. So let's continue with this whole interview.
Too, though, that you already, because you've been on the main roster for a relatively short period of time, and you can already see like, oh, that might have gotten me. Oh, that might have gotten me had I gone up earlier. Like, are there instances now where you're like, the reason I can deal with this that's in front of me is because of the amount of time that I spent at NXT?
Oh, definitely. I think there's always mistakes to be had, but the key is like when you make one mistake, you make sure you don't do it again. So I had a lot of mistakes in NXT because I was there for so long. So I feel like I know how to react in certain situations that if you just got called up right away, you probably wouldn't be able to react appropriately, or you would, be very frazzled. Even on our debut, like obviously going out there, I did not anticipate to get that kind of hate to the point where I could not even get a word in. So if I hadn't had so much promo time on NXT, I probably would have been freaking out. But I knew how to handle the situation because I've been booed out of the building so many times at NXT too. Yeah. So this is nothing new for me.
Yeah. So as she just said right there, the whole booing situation. Now, as you guys know, that when JC and Fatal Influence came up, I wanted them to be handled with rubber gloves, because I like, all right, you guys really got something here. And my thing was, how would the crowd react to them right away? Because we all know that when you come up, you're going to get an initial somewhat of a push. And then depending on how the crowd reacts to you, that's your make or break. Now, when they come up and they got all those boos, it was music to my ears. I was smiling. Oh my God. I was smiling so much. Ear to ear. I was like, thank God they got the reaction. And now they've been a focal point of the show since their call up. And JC is right. If she did not spend a bunch of time at NXT, all those boos would have had her frazzled, and she wouldn't know how to react. And when it came up in the initial promo, I said that Lainey, she might have got a little frazzled, because I don't think she knew how much heat she would actually got from that. But she kept it together. But it was just that loud that you just couldn't hear them talk. And they made an immediate impact and have made an impact since. Let's continue.
Yeah, because you're right. Because I would imagine that, like, if you've never gotten booed out of a building before, it's like, when do you speak? Do you let do you try to speak over the boos? Do you let the boos speak for themselves? Do you get in here?
Yeah.
Can you get your message across? And also,
it's a little shocking the first time it happens. You know? You're like, well, damn, let me get a word in, you know? You don't even know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, and honestly, like, main roster is very different from NXT. It's very fast paced. It's like, you just have to know exactly who you are, and you don't have time to think about anything. NXT, you kind of have more time and you plan things and whatever the case is. Up here, it's like, this is what we need. Go do it. Figure it out.
Wow. Yeah, and I'm sure from week to week that can change. You just have to have that kind of all the tools in your toolbox kind of ready to be utilized.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I do you think that like, when they call NXT development, that becomes one of the more valuable parts of it? Not necessarily, starting with the technical skills, obviously, but I guess knowing when and how to use those technical skills is just as important, I would imagine, as having them at all.
Yes. Yeah, it's live TV. Like, anything can happen. So the more prepared you are, the more trained you are, the more comfortable you become, and you can just act on instinct rather than like, wait, this wasn't supposed to happen. Like, what am I going to do now? But there's so many coaches in the PC that there's someone for everybody, and for every category, there's someone you can go to. So the more time you spend there, you're just going to get better. Like, I know a lot of people like to judge the PC and, they have their opinions, but I'm extremely grateful for my time there. And you could never make me hate NXT or the PC.
When you become the NXT champion and you get that first reaction, which is like, what? Like, no, you know what I mean? Like, what do you, huh? Like, I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Do you take it upon yourself to go like, okay, I need to kind of twist the narrative on this, because you did that effectively, right? Like, pretty quick into that run, it was like you went from being the person that it's like, no, I thought this was just a TV match, to being like, no, JC's on top of the division. Like, do you consciously go, I need to use this time to make people understand that if they thought that I wasn't going to be in this position, that they judged me wrong?
Oh yeah. Every single time I went through that curtain, I was out to prove a point. Like, in so many ways, I've been the underdog my entire career. I started in Toxic Attraction. Nobody thought I was going to do anything past that.
I did.
And then, I went through a few different character stages, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So when it was my time for the title, I was like, all you people that doubted me, you're about to have your eyes blown up, because I'm about to wake up the world and show everybody what they've been missing. I don't know. Like, I was just so ready for it. I don't even remember what your question was. What was your question?
It was just like about consciously knowing that people view you one way, a way that you don't view yourself, right? You know that you know the truth about yourself as a performer. So are you consciously going like, well, wait, like you just wait and watch what happens? Because I think you did effectively change the way people perceived you within that title run.
Yeah, because even after I won the title, everybody called me the transitional champion. Then I got the moniker, I was the most beatable champion. I was like, oh, really?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Let's play this game. Let's see how beatable and how transitional I am.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think I even shocked people in the back because I think there was some truth to that. Like, okay, let's see what happens. Give her the title. Let's see what happens. And I think I shocked everyone, not just, the fans, but also peers.
And I believe that.
She did. And I like the fact that they actually played it that way, because that whole idea of being a beatable champion, because when you're a JC, she was beatable. We'll put it that way. A lot of times the heel is going to be beatable. And at that time, like Fatal Influence, they were a trio, but they lost a lot of matches. And JC was not really seen as a real threat, opposed to like the past women's champions of like Stephanie Vaquer, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair. JC Jane was not seen as any form of a threat as those women were, but she got the last laugh and had a phenomenal title reign, and she won Breakout Star of the Year for me. She was second in Women's Wrestler of the Year for me last year. I'm all about fairness. Mercedes Moné will win it, but JC, no doubt, she left with something. And like I said, I was so happy about JC having that run and getting her just doing NXT.
Because there is this thing about like, I think as a fan, like when I watch, it's one thing to go like, okay, the performance of this, and you're only in control of what you're in control of, but you can tell in an entrance if somebody is ready to be a champion or not. Like you can tell, just because a superstar has a belt doesn't mean that they give you as a fan the perception that they're a champion. Like you have to kind of own that and almost as a character become bigger than the title. And I feel like that's what you did. You made it so that it went from, oh, I didn't see JC winning to, yeah, I associate JC with championships.
Yeah. And I think the last year I definitely have, because I feel like it feels right again having gold. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to elevate this title, and hopefully get a lot of girls TV time and make some magic,
And it's amazing too, because it's right, like you winning the United States Championship is right in this sort of tornado of storytelling that is not necessarily something that anybody saw coming. Like it's within that sort of mix of Chelsea Green over here and Tiffany's over here, and there's Lash and there's Nia, and then all of a sudden here come you guys. And it's funny to me that while all the attention at first is on Chelsea Green and then Tiffany and then Lash and then Nia, like when you zoom out and you go, wait, with all this going on, somehow Fatal Attraction is the one where everybody in that trio has gold now. Like you guys are the ones that all have championships.
Yeah. People are calling us the female Shield, which
that's massive.
I'll take that. Yeah. I'll take that, damn. But yeah, we came in with a plan. We were like, we're coming, we're going to make an impact. We're taking over. It's the next generation, sorry to the other girls in the locker room, but if you can't outdo us, then you're not going to have any gold. We're going to be on top, and we plan to be on top for a very long time. So get used to it.
What is it about the chemistry between the three of you? Because like you bring up the Shield, right? And I think that it's fitting in a way, because that attitude that you just described is the same attitude that the Shield had when they walked in. But what made that faction stick, I think, is the chemistry amongst the three of them. And I think, and it's interesting because as many different sort of incarnations of similar factions as you've been a part of, this kind of final form of what we see on SmackDown feels like this is the one.
Yeah.
What is it about the chemistry of you three that you think works so well?
We're all well, for first, me and Fallon have known each other for like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that chemistry has just been built up over time. And Lainey came in and she's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she had a point to prove,
Bro.
and she's definitely stepped up to the plate.
I've said this before. I don't know what super soldier serum they got going on down there in NXT. But bruh, Lady beast is an understatement. That good, that quick is phenomenal for Lainey Reed.
And I think the thing that keeps us so strong is like we're all supportive of each other, but at the same time, like we're all very competitive. You know, like we want to outdo everybody else, but I think in a weird way we're also trying to like one up the other. So it just makes all of us stay on top of our game at all times, and it's working. Clearly, it's working.
Yeah. When you talk about elevating the United States Championship, which you just said was your plan, are there opponents that you have in mind? Are there matches that you want to have? Are there like, is it just a matter of you and the way you're perceived as the United States champion?
I think all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's nothing more that I love than having like a 5-star classic match. You know, I would love to there's so many girls on the roster that I haven't been able to work yet that I think I would have great chemistry with. I thought me and Tiffany had great chemistry. Mm-hmm. Tiffany is tough as hell. So props to Tiffany. And yeah, I want to have good matches. I want to remind everybody how strong women's wrestling is and that we're taking over, whether you guys want us to or not. I think we're constantly stepping up the bar, and I just want to be a part of that and bring new eyes to the division and just, you know, remind everyone who I am and about women's wrestling. That's really the goal. Just keep it going.
Do you like that when you're in the ring with somebody and you realize like, oh, this person is a lot tougher than I realized? Like you just said, Tiffany Stratton is as tough as she is. Like, do you like when people start swinging for the fences and stuff and it gets physical?
I do. Yeah. I don't know if you could tell by my matches. But honestly, I feel like when someone is tough and you know you can really go at each other, it makes for such a better match. Mm-hmm. You're blurring the lines. So people are like, oh, damn, like they're really, you know, beating the crap out of each other. And, you know, some people might get upset about that. You know, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But this is not ballet, people. This is a physical sport. And if you want to be in the ring with the best, then you got to bring it.
I think that's such a good point about the kind of people feeling like, oh, this is real. Like those two are really, there's a real aggression going on. There's real tension going on in there. And I also think that like hard hitting style is also one of those things that makes it so that it's possible to be in this era where you can watch a show and go, that was my favorite match on the card. Not that was my favorite women's match on the card, but women happen to be the ones having the match that is your favorite match on the card. I think it does a lot of times come down to that kind of aggression.
Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up watching wrestling, like the women did not wrestle the way we do now, right? There was a lot of limitations and whatever you want to call it. So I feel like now that I'm here, it's almost like a duty to me to keep elevating the division. And to do that, we have to change our style. If we want to be, you know, in the running with the boys, then we got to wrestle like the boys.
Mm-hmm. Who were you watching when you were growing up watching wrestling?
So we'll stop it right there. So again, JC Jane, she captured the WUS championship by defeating Tiffany Stratton last Friday on SmackDown. And like I said, when you see JC get choked up right before the pyro goes off for her, and it's like, all right, you kind of feel for her because you know she's pretty much a super fan. You learn a lot about JC Jane, and like she's been waiting for this moment. She was down in NXT for all that time, and now she's kind of getting her just due. Not the belt I wanted her to have, but I will take it because the WUS title, it needs some work because other than Chelsea Green, that title has not gotten the best rep. And it's something that I want to succeed. And I think that the championship can succeed under JC Jane and Fatal Influence because they're such a focal part of the television show. They try to do it with Tiffany Stratton, but there was not a lot for Tiffany Stratton to do. And she's essentially just, now she's teaming up with Chelsea Green. And that is pretty much going to lead to her heel turn, in my opinion. I did a video on that last week as well. But let me know what you guys think about JC Jane winning the WS title. You guys a fan of Fatal Influence? Let me know what you guys think in the comments.